This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon and welcome to South Africa, to the Sabi Sands, to Djuma. This is Safari Live.
I am in the middle of one of the true wilderness areas left in the world.
This is the most mind-blowing wildlife experience you could ever hope to have.
You are live, you are live.
How cute are those baby Impala? And there's some blue sky, much better than this morning. And welcome again, everyone. I'm Noel, and on camera we have the wildebeest. Hello, Wiem. All right, I want to welcome Glenwood, Sutherland, and Rice Creek Elementaries. Hello, students. I hope you enjoy your time with us this afternoon. I believe you're doing life sciences, migration, habitats, and animals this afternoon, and I hope we can help you with any questions you have. Remember, we are live, we are interactive. Hashtag Safari Live on the Twitter, or you can ask us questions on the YouTube chat. All right, Vildi, those cute little Impalas, let's have another look. So it is the season, I should say. 'Tis the season for cute little babies. So Vildi is showing you some adults there, and then there's a little baby just in front. Grooming itself. Mum came to check it out. They have teeth in their lower jaw that are slightly movable. So when they groom themselves or groom each other, which is known as allo grooming, there we go, their teeth move and it works like a comb to help take out hair and any sort of parasites that might be there. Now, one of the ways that you can tell this is a baby is, we saw some adults before, but then if you just saw this little one, you would see, look how big those ears are in comparison to the head. It hasn't quite grown into itself yet. Tiny little spindly legs. And yes, the uber cuteness. All right, so Impala is one of our antelope species that we see the most often. They're around every corner, but they are one of our most beautiful antelope species as well. I particularly love baby Impala because they're tiny little miniatures of the adult. Now, the first, Vildi, I don't know, can we still see that young male? Oh, of course, he puts his head down as I say that. We had a young male, there's his bum. When he picks up his head, you're going to see his little horns. So the males with the Impalas grow horns. The females have no horns. So the male that's there's his tiny little horns. His horns will get much bigger than that. He's probably only about a year, maybe 2 years old. And the little babies we were showing you now, they have not quite started to grow their horns. So if any of you are coming from North America or Northern Europe or north of sub-Saharan Africa, you will get deer species that have antlers that shed and regrow every year. Our antelope south of the Sahara, so in the sub-Saharan area, have horns that grow once in a lifetime. So we don't have any deer in sub-Saharan Africa except for the feral deer that people have brought over. And feral deer are basically, when you use the word feral, it's either something that was domesticated that then was let free to become quote-unquote wild, or was brought over from somewhere else, say Europe, for instance, with some of the deer, and then sort of let free into an area that is not their own. All right, now my friend Ralph is on the other side of Djuma. He's got another antelope species he'd like to show you, so let's head on over to him.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the other vehicle out on drive in the Kruger National Park. My name is Ralph Kirsten, and we have Sebastian on the camera. Thanks for that thumbs up, Sebastian. Welcome to all the schools that are joining us. It's quite a coolish afternoon. It's around 20 degrees centigrade and around a mid 60 degrees Fahrenheit. With the idea this afternoon, my thinking is that we're going to drive around and we're going to look for animals that are doing their thing, their ecology, their behavior, and we're going to try and bring in those topics for the school school's sake, but it's great because everybody's been out looking for the big cats, looking for the big animals. Nobody's been able to find any of that. So I like that kind of situation because that gives us an opportunity to move slowly through for any kind of little signs that whether it's big animals, whether it's small animals, but I like to concentrate on the small stuff. And as I say, today we're going to concentrate on ecology and a little bit on behavior. Right, I hear that we're losing signal a little bit, so we're going to go back to Noel and I'm going to try find some better signal for you.
So sorry about that, Ralph. So everyone, don't forget we are live. So sometimes we hit little dips and valleys, and the signal that we use to get to our camera so that you can see us doing what we're doing and interact with us disappears. We call them gremlins, for those of you that don't know. So sorry, Ralph, the gremlins have decided to attack you a little bit this afternoon. And with this crazy overcast weather that we're having the past couple days, it sometimes affects our signal every now and then. But we should be good. I am going to go and check. Well, I should say Vildy and I are going to go and check the dam. What do you see, Vildy? Ah, Vildy found wildebeest. Very funny. I'm laughing at myself today. I'm sorry, this morning was so cold and so wet, and right now it's much warmer and it's not raining, so I'm I'm in a very giggly mood, so excuse my giggles, but yes, and I promise no more bad jokes and no more bad puns. So there's another antelope species for us, the wildebeest. In Afrikaans, it's a blauw wildebeest, or in English, a blue wildebeest, also known as a brindled gnu. There you can see the brindling on the side there, the stripes. So now we spoke earlier and we said female impala have no horns and male impalas do. Well, with the wildebeest, both males and females have horns. So kiddos, don't forget, you can ask us questions. I would be wondering to myself if you all had any thoughts as to why male and female wildebeest have horns. So I'm going to keep talking about wildebeest, but you all think about it and then send us some questions through from your teacher, and we can have a little chat about that. All right, and then notice as well, their heads are positioned quite far down. Some of them are looking quite fat, as most of these females are going to be pregnant. They're going to have their babies. Oh my goodness, it's almost December. They'll have their babies in a few weeks, sort of mid-December to mid-January. They have Christmas and New Year babies, for those of you that celebrate those holidays. And then also, like impala, they work in a herd structure. So lots of females and the young together. And then with wildebeest in particular, you'll have a male that will be in charge of his herd and his territory. Now that's a little bit different than up in the Maasai Mara. Up in the Maasai Mara and in the Serengeti, so that's in East Africa, it's about, if I remember correctly, sort of, I think we said, is it 3,000 kilometers or miles, Vildy, up to the Mara? I will remember just now. Sorry, guys. Maybe one of you can double check and let me know. They follow the rains in a somewhat circular pattern. So they're not stationary like ours are here and sort of staying put in territories. The males are keeping track of their females within these really large movements. So I know some of your classrooms are talking about migrations. That migration up there is known as the Great Migration. And the wildebeest that join that are a white bearded gnu, which look almost exactly the same as this one, except they have a white beard. So it's a cousin of this wildebeest. A subspecies, if any of you are going into taxonomy at all. All right, so guys, don't forget, we are interactive, so send your questions through. I'd love to know some of your answers. Rice Creek Elementary, you're curious about what do the wildebeest eat. So we talked earlier about the head being positioned down, that long neck, and then they've got a very wide mouth. They're a grazer, they eat grass, and they're a bulk grazer. So anything with a big wide mouth like that, like a cow, I don't know if any of you have cows near where you live, a cow is a bulk grazer as well. Those impala that we saw earlier, oh, there's one peeking out from behind that wildebeest. They eat grass and leaves. They've got a tinier mouth, and they're very capable of reaching higher up and lower down. And they've got tiny little mouths to be able to help take the leaves off. So that's one way to tell the difference. Ava, you're curious if the wildebeest horns fall off as the seasons change. So Ava, I'm going to guess that where you live you have deer. So those deer have antlers and they fall off with the season. Our antelope that we have here have horns that just grow once. So if they break off, they won't fall off, but if they break off, that's it. They don't grow again. That female is looking very pregnant. Very, very pregnant. So you see what we're talking about with that way the neck goes and the head comes down? Connor, good question. You're asking how many wildebeest can a baby have? I'm so sorry, Connor. How many babies does a wildebeest have? Just one at a time, Connor. So Impala, wildebeest, the Nyala you saw with Ralph, it's all one baby. Even elephants and giraffe, it's one baby, and rhinos and buffalo. Although now that I mention elephant and giraffe, every now and then they'll have twins, but it's very, very, very rare. It's hard for any species out here that is an edible species, a prey species, something that lion would eat, for instance. It's hard for them to have more than one baby. Now, a lion will have multiple babies because it takes a lot to grow those little cubs up, a lot of effort, and so the more they have, the more likely to survive. Whereas with these animals like the wildebeest, they'll have one baby, but they live in a herd, and so all the mums help take care of all the babies. They don't nurse all the different babies; they only nurse their own. But having many babies all together means that predators will get one here and one there, but it's very hard for them to take out all of them at once. So guys, I just have to mention that pole that we saw. Our roof is on because the rain is on and off, so just excuse it every now and then. So I believe the question was, how long do wildebeest live, Kirst, if I heard you correct? From Paris. Paris, you're curious about how long do wildebeest live. Wildebeest will live about 8 to 10 years, I would guesstimate, right around there. They're a larger wildebeest. That one's staring at us, trying to figure out why we're sitting here for so long. Oh, and having a wee. Well, that's rather rude. Don't stare at us while you're having a wee, silly wildebeest. All right, let's head over to the dam. They look like they're heading down that way, and we will see maybe if anything else is drinking while we wait for them there. Everyone, your questions are fantastic. Keep them coming, keep them coming. I'd be interested to know where all of your schools are situated, in what country are you, and if you are in the States, what state you are in. And if any of you have ever traveled maybe overseas to Africa or been here before or are hoping to maybe come over. Erwin, you're curious about how fast the wildebeest run. Now, I'm going to say that they probably get up to about 25 kilometers, well, let's put a little bit more, 35 kilometers an hour, so that's going to be something like, off the top of my head, so sorry, something like 15 miles per hour, maybe right around in there, maybe a titch more. I can triple check my math on my calculator just now. Vildi, there's nothing at the dam. There's some Impala on the other side. So because it was a cold day, oh, there's a giant terrapin. You see Vildi on the right-hand side of the bank. And then to the left, there he is. So everyone, that is a terrapin. Some of you might know it as a snapping turtle, but for technical terms' sake, turtles live in the ocean. Turtles live in the ocean, tortoises live on land, and terrapins live in freshwater like this pan. Now, my friend Brent is up in the Maasai Mara, and he has some furry creatures he would like to show you. So I think while we're busy looking around, let's travel up north to him. Oh my goodness, the gremlins are everywhere today. Everywhere. So sorry about that, guys. We will get up to Brent at some point with his special furry creature, but you're stuck with me for now, if that's okay. So we were talking about turtles, terrapins, and tortoises. So a tortoise, again, as I said, will live on land, and it is a vegetarian. It eats grass and plants. And then this terrapin that's there lives inside this fresh water, and he can climb out onto the ground and move to different freshwater bodies. If any of you live sort of on near the East Coast, or I would actually say east of the Mississippi in the States, I believe you get snapping turtles, painted snapping turtles, I think they're called. So the turtle is an odd term. It should be a terrapin. So Glenwood and Sutherland, you are from Virginia, and I believe, Kirst, you said Rice Creek is from North or South Carolina? South Carolina. All very beautiful places. You all definitely have snapping turtles. But now that you know the correct term for them, they're terrapins. And north of Virginia, you've got Maryland. And I think one of the universities in Maryland, their mascot is, in fact, a terrapin. So a terrapin has web on its feet and then little claws so that it can move around. A tortoise has sort of sturdy feet with just little claws, and then a turtle has flippers to be able to move through the ocean. And turtles are specialized feeders. They eat things like octopus, squid, and fish, depending on what species of turtle it is. Now, if you're in Virginia and you're in South Carolina, I believe you've got oceans on your eastern side there, and you might just see some sea turtles come up during the summer months, or maybe the winter months. I know in Florida they definitely do. Okay, Brent, his gremlins have left. Let's head back up to him, all the way up to East Africa, to Kenya, to the Maasai Mara, and see what he has in store for us.
Well, welcome to a beautiful sunshiny day here in the Maasai Mara. We are with the Olololo Pride live from the northern sections of the Mara Triangle. Now, they're in a bit of long grass and they're resting. It looks like they've got quite big bellies, the cubs at least. There are 4 cubs, 3 adult females. But at the moment, you can just see tails and feet in the air. But of course, you never know what's going to happen on a live broadcast. My name is Brent Leo Smith, and I have Archie on camera. And what a beautiful evening it is. Hashtag Safari Live if you have any questions for us or the others down south in South Africa. So I think we're going to play the patience game. So the cubs look quite well fed. The females don't. They are getting up and moving every now and then. There we go. Cubs up. And down again. Here we go, talking to one of the adult females. I can't see whether it's mom or not. Oh, there could be some more cubs there. As I said, they're looking quite well fed. It looks like they might be trying to sneak a suckle on mom. But mom doesn't look too impressed. Every time they do, she keeps getting up and moving away. Now, remember, this is 100% live from the Maasai Mara in Kenya. And you can see how lovely and luscious it is, green and beautiful. Now, this is the first afternoon in quite a while. We haven't had a big thunderstorm, so it's wonderful to be out without the threat of rain. You can see the ears and tails flicking incessantly to try and make sure those little biting stable flies don't draw too much blood. Little vampires. Oh, that female looks a lot more well fed than the other. Oh, obviously they might have caught something this morning, but something not too big. Here we go. We're going to have, I think, a very typical lion flop shortly. And flop. You can see her bulging belly, and she's breathing very heavily, trying to digest or whatever she might have eaten. Oh, there's a cub up and on its way in. Oh, no, the cub went down again. It took 2 steps and went flat in the grass. It is very still down here on the Mara floor this afternoon. Not even a breath of wind. Well, there we go. Up and at him. I think that they might move towards the shade and possibly back towards us. We're under a big tree, just to try get away from all the biting flies. So even though the sun is out and it's bright, it's not too hot. Hello, Santiago. Santiago would like to know, how fast do lions run? Well, Santiago, faster than you. But of course, I'm just joking. Their top speed is about 20 meters per second, and they don't run for very, very far. So they like to get right there and close. Oh, cubs up. They like to get very close to their prey before they pounce, but they are capable of about 20 meters per second, and they can keep that up for a good 3 or 4 seconds. And so generally they prefer their prey to be within 20 meters, so they don't have to run too far. They're inherently lazy beasts, and that's how they're designed. And they have a big problem dealing with heat. So what they do is tend to spend most of the warm hours of the day resting, like they're doing at the moment, and as it gets cooler, they'll get up and get on the hunt. However, they are opportunists. So if some poor unsuspecting warthog or zebra happen to trundle towards them, they would definitely make an attempt to catch it, even if they were full-bellied. The lions are capable of eating incredibly rotten meat. Now, you can see that's a very fat lioness. So only one hungry lioness out of the 3. Look at her. She looks very comfortable, putting the leg all the way out in the air. So I wonder what they caught earlier today, or even possibly last night, that has kept them so full. Now, if we look in the distance between the gap in the trees there, Archie, you'll see around there we go. There we go. You can see there's some zebra and Thompson's gazelle in the distance. Of course, at this time of the day, that far away, they are quite safe. Hello, Daniel. Daniel's wondering, are the lions endangered? Daniel, lions are endangered in certain parts of Africa. In this area, they are not endangered, and in South Africa, where the other guys are, they're also not endangered. But they have lost a lot of their home ranges outside of the protected reserves. So there is threats towards lions, but they are currently not endangered, but they are threatened. Let's have a look at the lions again. There we go. You can just see tails and feet. Breathing heavily. I'm going to sit here for a little bit longer, see if they get up and get on the move. With fat, full bellies like that, they might head towards the little stream close by for a drink. But while we do that, let's send you all the way back to South Africa to see what Ralph is up to.
Welcome back, folks. I'm saying welcome back because I know a little bit earlier we lost the signal. So I just want to remind you to please join us on Twitter, #SafariLive, and on YouTube with the live chat. Now, we've just been driving along down the road. We've been going slowly, just so that we can pick up on the sounds and see if we can find any tracks. It's really exciting for me to do it nice and slowly, because that's when you really pick up on the interesting things. So there's something in front here that I just want Seb just to move forward on. Now, for the kids out there, this might just look like a big pile of grass or a big pile of poo. It is exactly that. It's a big pile of poo. But the animal that we're talking about here, if you go in nice and close there, you can see there's a lot of grass pieces in there. And it's obvious that the animal that is using this site is returning every day or on a very regular basis. It's nice and wet in some parts, it's very dry in others. And this would be part of a territorial movement of a very big animal. And this very big animal has got two big lovely horns on him. Now, please, kids, please send in your questions and your comments. Let's hear it. Do you know what animal would be territorial, that has horns and would move around and defecate in a similar spot on a regular basis? Okay, let's get those answers coming in, and maybe we can have a little bit of a discussion about that animal. And he likes to use that spot on a regular basis. It's quite interesting, the animals that like to do that kind of thing. It's generally your territorial animals coming back to the same spot, using the same area to defecate in. We also call that a midden site. And that is used for a particular reason between males and females and between the structural part of the groups as well. So as we move along down the road, what we are looking for, and this is something else that we have just spotted in front of us. It's not absolutely fresh, this sign on the road. If Seb can just go in a little bit closer there. Those two scratch marks are from the same animal. That's from the same animal. Rice Creek saying buffalo or elephant. It is quite similar size-wise to buffalo and a little bit smaller than an elephant. But we did have somebody else there. I didn't quite hear the name, but somebody got the answer. William, you were absolutely spot on. The answer is a rhino, and this one in particular being a white rhino. Now, he will be walking around in this area, and he will move in the same area normally because he's territorial, and he'll be marking his territory using both those scrape marks like that and also that midden sight. So that is his way of saying, this is my area, and he's warning off all those bigger males not to come and mess with his territory. Okay, so as we continue down the road, as we've spotted those two kinds of signs, that is leading us to believe that there's big animals in the area, of which there is. Now, we're also listening out for any sounds of big animals, and that would be, like for elephants, it would be branches breaking, or any kind of the little rumbling sounds that we hear from elephants, who use that very low pitch rumble. Okay, but difficult to hear if we're driving a vehicle around, and especially if we're going fast. So those are the kind of little sounds that we need to tune our ears in as we're moving around. And we also, if we want to pick up on some predators, then we want to be listening for the alarm calls of the other animals. Birds are a major one that will lead us in the direction of predators, because they will start to alarm call, and they sitting up nice and high in the trees, so they have a good vantage point to be able to spot them, and they immediately indicate to us. So birds would be calling. We'd also be listening out for squirrels also being up nice and high. What else is up nice and high? Monkeys, baboons, and they've got excellent eyesight. So they would be alarm calling, and we're listening out for that. Some of the animals that are on the ground that we would listen out for as well as the antelope. And they start, so those are the noises that we'd be listening out for. A couple of the smells that we would be trying to pick up on. The one in particular that everybody loves is the smell of popcorn. You know, when you go to the movies and you get a nice big box of popcorn and they put some fresh butter on it and it melts, that smell of popcorn with the butter on it is an excellent indicator of leopard. So that is a smell that we'll be trying to pick up. Ava, question coming in from Ava. How many times have I seen an elephant? Ava, I've lost count how many times I've seen an elephant. I've seen elephants in many different game reserves. I've probably seen over I would say 5,000 if I have to say that. In the greater Kruger National Park area, there's more than 13,000 elephants, and I've probably seen a good few of those. But in the different game reserves that I've moved around, I've seen very many elephants in the time that I've been guiding. In my short 18 years as a guide, I've seen quite a lot of animals that walk around with those big trunks. Okay, here in front we've just got a little pan. It's a fantastic site for any of the animals that might have just moved through to come and have a drink. That water doesn't look fantastic for us, but for the bigger animals it would be a lovely sight. However, it has been raining, so it's not an amazing time for the animals to be stopping at all these bigger water holes. Okay, because there's a lot of water around, we're not particularly seeing them at these bigger water holes. They can pick up water wherever they like. Alright, so I'm going to continue along down the road looking. In the meantime, let's cross to Noel and see what she has found.
Hello, I have some driving I'm doing. A little birdie told me in my ear that there may or may not be some elephants up ahead. So I am heading in that direction to see if possibly I can show them to you. So it's going to take me a minute or two to get there. And if I pick up any tracks or signs along the way, I'll definitely show you. Logan, are you curious about what kind of birds live in our trees and do they make any noises? Are you asking about insects that live in our trees and do they make any noises? Sorry, so Logan, I've got Kirst, who's in our control room, who talks in my ear. And sometimes, just sometimes, because I'm an old lady, I mishear her. So Logan, we do have insects that live in trees, and some of them do make noises. We have cicadas and crickets that will make noises. I'm trying to think sort of what other type of tree-dwelling insects we have that would make a noise, but those are just the two that I can think of now. And they don't necessarily live in the trees, but they definitely live on the trees. And especially now in our summer, because it's our summer here and it's going to be your winter where you are. In our summer we get a lot of cricket and cicada noises. Not as much today, as today is very cold, but when it gets a little bit more warm, we will definitely start hearing them. That is for sure. Good question, Logan. And then yes, we also have tree-dwelling birds, and they also make some beautiful noises as well. I'll see if on our way to our elephants I can pick up any for you that want to sit still long enough. We had a cuckoo earlier, didn't want to show itself. Now Ralph is across the way and he has found something for you. Let's head over to him while I look for these elephants.
Right, as we were driving through, we just spotted something moving through the thickets, and we saw those lovely big horns there. And this is of a nice big bull waterbuck. So you can see the beautiful markings on him. He's unmistakable. He's got quite long hair for an African mammal. You can see there, and that's for a particular reason as well, because as the name suggests, he likes to be in the water, and they spend a lot of time near to the water, in the water, grazing in the area. I'm going to move forward a little bit and see if we can get a better view of him. And of course those fantastic horns that he's got, that is unmistakably a lovely big bull waterbuck. So look at him. He's also always careful as he's going along, as all the antelope are. They need to be on their toes all the time because they have been surviving through the years by being on their toes, especially for predators. Lions and leopard will always take their chance, but there are still lots of waterbuck around, so it means that they have survived through being absolutely aware of their surroundings. And with those horns, they can use that for defense against predators, and it's also for dominance between males. So fantastic markings there, and that nice lovely white ring on the bum. See him wagging his tail a little bit. That's generally to keep the flies away. He's not happy per se. He might be quite happy, but the use of that is to keep the insects and parasites away from his rear end. Right, so that nice thick coat, keeping them nice and warm when it's wet in the times that we've had now. And he's just meandering through. So quite often with the antelope we can find males on their own. Generally the females move in groups, and the females, they will be with the babies, male and female. And what's quite particular about waterbuck is they can actually drop their babies in a creche. Now, sorry for that pole that's just showing up in the corner there. That's because we're still worried about the rain. It hasn't quite left us yet. And there Seb's just got that pole in the way. And you could see as he walked through the thicket there, he has to drop his horns back so that he can move through. Aya, a question coming from Aya. That's a very good question. Why are there stripes on the horns? It's actually the twisting that is going on the horns. It's like ridges that are on the horns as they go up, and it is actually to do with the spiraling part of it. But it's as those horns grow, they get a thick base, and then it thins out a little bit and it grows up. Now remember that horns are very similar to what we have on our nails. It is keratin, and it's the same as our hair, same as our nails, so very similar composition. And that's also similar to the rhino horns, which is also keratin, very similar to hair and nails. And that, so if a horn breaks, it will continue to grow. It won't form the perfect form that it did have, but it will continue to grow. So it's not sore for the animal. Unlike that of antlers, which fall off, these stay here. Logan, good question from Logan. Do the males fight each other? Yes, they do, Logan. Now we've just picked up again over there. We can still see him again. The males will fight with each other to establish dominance, and that's one of the big reasons of those horns that he's got, is to fight other males. Now they'll lock horns and push each other around, and obviously the loser will be the one that gets pushed back more than the other, or sometimes can even be killed. If he can push the other male's side on, he will stab him in the side if he can do that. But I'm going to continue along the road here once again, look to see what we can find. But I think Noel has some of those big animals to show you that I was looking for.
We have some elephants, yay! Thanks to our wonderful tracker, Herbie. Yesterday afternoon, Herbie and I were trying to find Tundi, and one of our leopards, and he's determined to find her this afternoon. And on his search, he bumped into these elephants and gave me a shout, and so I'm here to show them to you. So we have savanna elephants. The other type of elephant that you would find in Africa would be the forest elephants that are up in sort of Congo area. Different species. A different type of elephant that you would find would be the desert elephant in Namibia, but it's just an adapted version of the elephant that we're looking at here. And then across the world, the other type of elephant in India would be the Indian elephant. Sorry, Curse, Devin was asking. Ooh, Devin, good question. How do they eat? Devin, can you see what they're doing with their trunks there? This is one of the ways that they eat. Their trunk has many, many, many muscles in it, and they're very dexterous, meaning that they are able to move their trunks in all sorts of different ways. And so they're looping it around the grass, the fresh green grass that's popped up since the rain, and are putting it in their mouth. Now, if we look just in front of us here, we have another little elephant who's part of this herd. I'm so sorry about the antenna there, everybody. That is so that we can speak to one another. He is busy also with the grass, but every now and then he's lifting up this branch. So they'll also use their trunks to rip off branches to then eat the branch, or using the tip of their trunk that's got two little fingers that acts like, well, they act like fingers, sorry, two little points that act like fingers. I think maybe let's have a look here at this little one, because I think we're going to get the best view there. And with those two little fingers, they can pick up fruits off the ground. They can also pick leaves off the trees. There we go. You see how adept they are at that. So elephants have 2 arms and 2 legs, but they don't have any hands per se like we do, because their hand bones are inside of their sort of cartilage cavity, so inside the thick skin there. So they have to use their trunk like an arm and a hand. But it's also a nose, and that's also what they suck water up through. They suck the water up, and they don't swallow it through their whole nose, but they suck it up and then spray it into their mouth. So that trunk is very, very versatile. Talia, you're curious about how old this baby elephant is here. I would say that this baby elephant is about 2 years old. If we go from this baby here and then just go a little bit right, you'll see the mum that's there. Okay, so we size babies in comparison to the mum. So Talia, if you have very tall parents, you'll most likely be tall. If your parents are short, you'll most likely be short. And that's all genetics. It's the same with elephants. Ava, you're curious if elephants are super protective of the babies. They are indeed super protective, just like your parents would be protective of you or anyone in your family at all. I come from a very large family. I have lots of sisters and brothers and cousins and aunties and uncles, and oh my goodness, it's ginormous. And they're all very, very protective. And it's the same with elephants. They work in an extended family system called a herd, a matriarchal herd. And by matriarch, we mean that there's a female and she's in charge. So this big female that we were just showing to you now, the mum of that little one, she's in charge. And whenever anything threatens her little ones, they trumpet and they stomp. What is this little one doing, Vildy? Did you guys see? He's found an old aardvark burrow, and he's busy half inside trying to get this vegetation out. I'm sorry, baby elephants are hysterical. Look at that. He's found a root system that he wants to eat and to do... And now he's pushing up with his face. So his tush haven't come out yet. So one of the reasons why I also say that he's 2 years old, just a little bit older, is at 3 years old, you'll start to see their second set of tush come out. We can't see it here. So he's busy using his face in the soft sand. If he had tush, he would use his tush to dig it up. I'm sorry, everyone. How hysterical is this? Baby elephants are the best. Oh, he's trying so hard. Vildy, how are you not laughing at me? Vildy has the biggest smile on his face right now. Oh, so kids, elephants are silly. Like we are. I'm convinced that they have a sense of humor. Look, animals don't necessarily have emotions like we as humans have emotion, but they do have personalities. And you all know what a personality is. You might know someone that is very loud or very quiet or a jokester or very sincere and caring. It goes on down the line. And elephants have a personality, cats have a personality, and young elephants like this are just extremely cheeky. And as you can tell by my laugh, just hysterical. So it takes him about 2 years to learn how to use those muscles in that trunk. And then his whole life he'll use to develop. So some of the behavior that he's doing now is he's obviously able to use his trunk very well. We saw him eating before. But before he was able to use his trunk, he would face plant into things to eat. Charlie, you're wondering if elephants travel in groups. They do when they're in... Kylie, excuse me, sweetie. Kylie, you're wondering if elephants travel in groups. They do when they're in the breeding herds, but the males, when they're about 15 to 18, they get kicked out of the breeding herds and then are sometimes by themselves and sometimes with other males. So it just depends. I think this little one's also doing a bit of what we call geophagy. So geophagy is eating dirt. He's just found a little treasure trove. Faraz, you're wondering why elephants are so wrinkly. That's a very good question. The texture on their skin and the wrinkles probably has something to do with their ability to... Sorry. And then he finds a stick. Why are they so wrinkly? My guess for us would be that it has to do with sort of body temperature, or possibly being able to keep mud or sand on them when they cool themselves down. But for us, that's just a guess. Sometimes things just are the way that they are. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts about why elephants have wrinkly skin. Rhinos have relatively smooth skin. That's a very good question. Well, Glenwood, Sutherland, and Rice Creek Elementary, thank you so much for joining us for this afternoon. You guys had amazing questions as always. Please join us again. And when we say goodbye to you all, we are going to head up to Jamie, who wants to say hello from the Maasai Mara. So let's go up to her. We'll stick with the elephants and hopefully see you again in a little bit.
Your driving start. You can't start like this. Hello and welcome to the Mara portion of this sunset safari. I do apologize for the late start. My name is Jamie, and this afternoon Jahawi is on camera with me, and the reason I was telling Jahawi that he can't start like this, well, will become apparent in a few moments, because in actual fact we're looking at 17 lions. We just can't see one of them. So I was trying to find us a better position, and unfortunately it went slightly awry. And what I thought was a better position turned out to be an even worse position. So I'm going to try that all again. And unfortunately where they are, I can't even avoid our vehicle's shadow. Which isn't a disaster, it's just one of those things that's present. So don't forget, for our regular viewers, that you can send through your questions on #SafariLive on Twitter. I can see a lion on a termite mound. Oh no, it's got flopped. There we go. Let's stop right there. So, we have found the Angama pride of lions, and as I said, 17 of them. 4 lionesses and 13 cubs. So the grassland that you're looking at is hiding 17 lions. Just as a little reminder as to, once the grass grows, as it does, and once it reaches its full height, just how difficult it's going to be to find the lions that are hiding right under our noses. In fact, I think there's a good chance I would have missed them if I'd driven past without seeing the other vehicle and without seeing the flash of a tail and the flick of an ear. They are so well hidden. It's hard to believe this is the same place we were driving around a few weeks ago when there was no grass here. Nothing. It had been completely mowed by the wildebeest that had come through just a few weeks prior. Now the grass is, I would say, in places almost a meter high, not quite, just under a meter, under 3 feet high. It'll be interesting to track its progress. It's going to make our lives slightly more difficult, but that's okay. We'll still find things. Now, yesterday on the Sunset Safari, we had the Angama Pride supposedly digging up a warthog. That's what one of the guides told me they were trying for. And unfortunately we had to leave as it was getting dark. It was in a non-off-roading area, and we had to go racing back to make the gate. And we don't know what happened, whether or not they caught the warthog. Looking back at that sighting, I doubt it. I don't think they were committed enough to the cause. I don't think that they were going to catch it and dig it out. But I don't know that for absolute certain. I can tell you it's the furthest I've ever seen the Angama Pride in the direction of the Samaki Swamp. It certainly came as a surprise. Interestingly enough, as the world works this way, Jahawi and I were in this exact spot the last time we saw the Angama Pride. Well, almost this exact spot. And they were hunting crowned cranes as the evening drew to a close. I wonder what these cubs have planned for us tonight. Interesting question from Lady Starfire, something I've spoken about before in the past. So Lady Starfire's question is, if a female is unable to reproduce, will the pride reject her? Funnily enough, I've seen something like that happen, but I don't think it's all that common. So I think under natural circumstances, most of the time, the pride bond will be strong enough to keep the pride together. In the case that I'm thinking of, it was an artificial situation. Closed system, where essentially if you have too many lions, you do tremendous damage to... So by closed system, I mean there's a fence. There's a fence around a relatively small reserve, which in South Africa, the small privately owned reserves form an enormous part of the conservation of the animals as a whole. Now within that, the smaller the area of the land, the more you have to manage the animals. In this particular case, it was an attempt to control the lion population, which was just booming, to the detriment of the cheetah population, leopard, hyena, and in fact general game population as well. So what they tried to do was they tried to contracept one of the females, and I can't remember the name of the contraception they used. I'm desperately trying to remember, but I actually can't. But they used a contraception that obviously stopped this female from falling pregnant, and the males seemed to figure it out, whether it was some kind of hormonal difference within her, whatever it was. They started to leave her alone. The females, it was never an immediate thing, but they pushed her more and more to the outskirts until she left the pride eventually. She went on because she disappeared, so it was very hard to find her again and re-administer the contraceptive. She went on to fall pregnant because it wore off, and she had cubs, but she never ever rejoined her original pride. Now, one of those interesting situations, I'm not sure that counts as, first of all, it was a once-off, and second of all, it was an artificial situation, but it is something that I saw happen. I don't quite know why it was that she was rejected and pushed out in the way that she was, when her mother, Midget, her mother moved away during a male coalition takeover, because she had 2 young males, and she stayed away from her pride for about 2.5 years, and then returned once her boys were independent. She returned back to her pride, and it was an interesting situation. She was 14 years old. And as always, hello to Lily, who is 6 years old. Now, Lily's been watching for a while now and is very, very astute. She knows exactly what's going on. Lily, yes, the long grass will make hunting much, much easier for the lions. Now, when the wildebeest were here, when there were lots and lots of wildebeest around, because remember, they've migrated away, they've left, and they've gone back to somewhere where there's some better grass for them to eat. But when the wildebeest were here, it was easy for the lions to hunt. But then the wildebeest ate all the grass, and the grass was very, very short, and then it was difficult for the lions to sneak up on their food. Now the grass is long, and the lions absolutely can sneak up on the food that they're trying to catch. But at the same time, grass makes a noise, so it's easier for them to remain hidden, but it's harder for them to sneak up on the animals without them being heard. So the rustle of the grass, the sound of it moving, might actually alert their prey. So lions have to be clever. They have to adapt depending upon what season it is. So whether it's rained a lot, whether the grass is very long, whether the grass is very short, they have to change their hunting techniques. Just like all of the predators out here. Leopards, cheetah as well, because of course for the cheetah, they also like to use the cover of the grass to sneak up on an animal before they chase it. Now today is actually a very hot day in the Mara. There's been none of that afternoon rain we've had. The confusion of having too many options. Susie's wondering what happens what does a male lion do if two females come into estrus at the same time. Most of the time, a male lion that has control of a territory will be in a group, in a coalition, in which case the answer to that is pretty simple. He will mate with one lioness and one of the other males from his coalition will mate with the other. It's not impossible for a male to mate with two females at a time. He looks a little bit miserable. I've seen it a few times. He looks a little miserable. He looks a little bit overstressed and a little bit overtired, but it is possible. And what you'll find is that the actions of the one lioness will generally trigger the actions of the second. So as soon as the males finish mating with the first, the female immediately approaches him. It does happen. It's rare though. Most of the time a male will go off with one lioness and a member of his coalition will go off with the other. And a lot of the time the males actually end up not quite sustaining that mating period all the way through the female's estrus, in which case another member of the coalition might actually step in. I've also heard interesting tales of male leopards, two male leopards mating with the same female and just taking turns. The animals, they have their own way of sorting out conflicts like that. Okay, we're going to wait for our lions to move out as it gets a little bit cooler. But I hear, and I'm actually quite jealous, I miss the elephants of Djuma. I hear Noel's been having the most amazing sighting with hers. Let's go back across to her.
Thanks, Jamie. Yes, it is good to see some elephants again. We were talking about this morning, where are the elephants? And they've popped up. Yay! So this, this young male and this female are having a bit of a tussle. She keeps pushing him away. He keeps wanting to play with her. She just wants to eat. So it is National Tree Week in the United Kingdom. So the tree that they're busy trying to eat is one of the gourd trees. Looks like a magic gourd from what I can see from here. And it's interesting. I don't see elephants eating it that much, but it is flowering at the moment. And the leaves are slightly newer, slightly more fresh. It is an evergreen tree, one of our only truly evergreen trees with leaves all year round. The reason why I say I don't usually see them eating it much is it has a lot of tannins in it. It's extremely high in tannins, so it's not the tastiest. So again, my guess is going to be that they eat it because of the flowers. Then a use for this tree, oh, a little elephant trumpeting in the background. A use for that tree that they're eating would be to find water. I know in the UK that I think it's yew trees that people use to divine water, and here the Sangomas, the traditional healers, will use this tree. I can't do it, but they can. All right. Now back to our elephants. This is fantastic. All right, guys, if we were going to do screenshots, this would be my screenshots. One of them with their trunks entwined and their tusks and the eye up. Look at them. Can we hear this? Elena, you you were curious about why elephants have such large gestation periods. So an elephant's gestation period, they're pregnant for 22 months, and it's long like that because they're large mammals and need longer time for their babies to develop in the uterus before they come out. So it means that they have the ability, they still have to take care of their babies when they come out, but it's more fully developed, which is easier for them. Yes, look at them go. This play that we're seeing here is all in good fun. It's an older female and a younger male. It's also cooler, so because it's cooler, they're able to have energy for other things other than just purely survival. And when that female, next time they push back, of course, as I say that, they wander off. You can actually see the veins on the backside of her ear there. We talk a lot about how they flap their ears to cool themselves down or keep them flat to warm themselves up, and that's the vein system that's in the back. I just want to see, they might push back into our view, but if they go behind the bush, kind of like what they're doing now, let me just come forward a little bit so we can keep watching them. You don't like being picked on, do you? So the female there was really pushing that young male, and he was like, too rough, too rough. Now he's gonna wait a bit. Now he's biding his time. Sometimes when they do this, then they'll walk their bums into each other. He's decided to go at it like this again. Listen, listen, everyone, listen. Did you all hear their tusks hitting each other there? Absolutely fantastic. Then there's a little fork-tailed drongo that's flying in and amongst them, because every time they move, they're kicking up soil, which is kicking up insects. So that fork-tailed drongo is taking advantage of this little wrestling match. Here he comes again. Listen. How very, very, very cool. Now a break, they're gonna go around this termite mound, and they might come back in the same direction, or most likely they will probably keep moving around the side of the termite mound there. Here they come. Around the side. Just gonna pull forward a little bit more again so we can keep watching them. Interesting. Every time one of them, especially the younger male, gets a little bit tired of wrestling, he'll put something like a tree or a termite mound or a bush in between them so he can have a bit of a break. And he's trying to do it to sort of save his manhood. Gus, you're curious as to whether or not female elephants are larger than males. Gus, in this particular case, there's a young male here with a female that is older than him, so she is larger. But when they reach full adulthood, male elephants are larger than female elephants by a couple of tons. Did you hear the tummy rumble there? So this young male has decided to give up. He wasn't going to win anyway. He's too little. And even though it's just play wrestling, because he's a young male, he does enjoy winning. And the reason why he's wrestling with this older female is that in this small little breeding herd, there are no males for him to wrestle with. He's got no, there's no cohort for him. It was an adult female and then about a 2-year-old little female. And then this male here who's probably about 6 to 8 years old. And then this other female I would put sort of late teens. And so his small breeding herd, it's a little breeding herd, his family unit, he's the only boy. And so he needs to practice working his muscles to become an adult male. And the only other elephants he can do that with are his older siblings slash cousins. This could be the younger sister of the matriarch. It could be his older sister. It could be a cousin. It depends. My guess would be that it's his older sister. But without knowing the herd structure a little bit more, I'm just guessing on their association, as it were. Now, directly in front of us, we can see the matriarch, the adult female, and then somewhere around here is going to be that little 2-year-old we were watching earlier. And just on the right-hand side of your screen, you can see a kudu bum. Now, what's interesting about what they've been feeding on thus far, besides that gourd bush that we saw, is a lot of this green grass. It is summertime. They will keep eating bark. They will keep eating leaves. They'll definitely start eating fruit, but they eat a lot of grass this time of year because it's very high in nutrients. A lot of it is fresh growth. Tim, that's a really excellent question. So I don't have as much knowledge of how they actually make that tummy rumble noise. The reason why we call it a tummy rumble is it sounds like that gurgling belly. I have a feeling that it has more to do with sort of the upper chest area, maybe into the throat, but I'm just spitballing there. I don't know for 100%. I don't know if there's anyone out there who has maybe a paper that they want to send me. I know a couple of you really love reading scientific journals. I got the paper on the bristles inside the giraffe's mouth, which I'm busy going through, so thank you very much for that. So if anyone has any ideas, and then I'll triple check with some friends of mine. I used to work with an elephant researcher when I worked up in the Northwest Province. She's since gone back to Europe, but I will give her a shout and see if she has any idea. Tula Ann, I haven't heard from you in a while. I hope you got that photo I sent you of the little lion cub and put it up by your kitty's litter box. So Tula Ann, you're curious, do elephants ever try to climb trees? So Tula Ann, the only thing that I've seen elephants do with trees is if they can't reach something, they'll stand on their legs, putting their front limbs up and stretch their trunk up. And then I've seen them smacking their foreheads against trees to get fruit to fall. And I've watched really big males push over really huge trees to get to the roots and to the fruits on top. But no, I've never seen them climb. Tula Ann, I have seen elephants climb up the sides of mountains in spaces that are even difficult for humans to climb up. I used to work in a place, sweetie, where there was a lot of ridges, and when I would do bushwalks with guests, the pathways we were using up the side of these ridges were made by elephants, so they're very good at climbing mountains. And I know Hannibal used to use elephants to get over the Alps, I think it was, if I'm remembering correctly, when he was fighting with his soldiers. And I cannot remember what time frame that was. I'm sure there's someone out there who can remember. There you can see the little one next to the mum, the little 2-year-old. Alright guys, you're stuck with me. Yay! We can do elephant time in Juma. The Mara has been something with the internet. Look, it's Africa. Things happen. The internet's gone in the Mara for now. and Ralph is having some gremlins attack his vehicle. So I'm very happy to sit here with these elephants for as long as you all are happy to sit here with these elephants. So just let us know. For anyone that's just joining, don't forget we are live, we are interactive. Hashtag Safari Live on the Twitter, or you can follow us on the YouTube chat. Now I just want to... Actually, you know what? I was going to reposition, but I think let's just wait here. That female that's there by what looks like a white berry bush, and her youngster might be coming out from behind there shortly. It looks as if she's found some very beautiful green grass just under there. So the reason why I was thinking of repositioning is it's always better to see a face than a bum. But we have bum and face right now, so there you can see all aspects of the elephant. Can we hear all the bird song in the background as well as them eating? A little bit, maybe. Fantastic. All right, some more facts about elephants. So many of you watch us religiously every day, but I do know that there's some people who only can have the chance to tune in from time to time. So let's do some basics with elephants. That female that we're looking at now, you can see her forehead has a very square edge to it, like the edge of a table. That's one of the ways that we sex elephants when they're adults. When they're busy going through puberty, it can sometimes be hard because, as we know, just like with humans, when you go through puberty, your ability to exhibit your characteristics of male or female are sometimes impaired by your hormones going on and off. So with adult female elephants, they get that very square forehead, and males will have a very rounded forehead. That's one way to tell. The other way to tell is to look between the legs. So I'm going to now reposition, because everybody's wandering off, and see if I can show you the differences between the legs. So you won't see testicles with elephants. The testicles sit inside the body. What you're going to see is just a sheath. And then with the females, madam, are you going to let me come forward a wee bit? Slightly. I'm just going to let her finish eating, cross over the road, and then we will reposition a little bit. So we'll play hide and seek with this older female here. You'll get a sheath with the males, and then the females will have sort of a flap that hangs down in the back, but I'll show you now when we have a chance, and that's the other way. It can sometimes be hard to tell if you're not used to it, so the forehead works really well. Cotton Candy, you're curious about their tail and if it means that when it's moving like a wag, if it means they're happy. So they're not like a dog. That tail movement has more to do with sort of flies and insects that would be around other than with happy. But what you will see with a tail, when it's loose like that, it means that they are not stressed out. If the tail is sticking sort of halfway out and very stiff, they're not in a good mood. When it's down and relaxed like that, they're in a good mood. So it's not a puppy wagging its tail, but you can tell mood a bit from that feature, indeed. Got our little, there we can see one of the trunks there. Oh, Ralph's gremlins have gone away. Let's head over to him and see what he has to show us, and I will see about a better view on these elephants.
Hi folks, I'm just on my way to have a look at Chitwa Dam, but on my way there I just want to show you a little tree that we drive past very often, and a lot of people don't actually stop to have a look at it. Now I'm going to try and keep you in frame here. Now the one I'm actually looking for is not the one that I've come out over here to. So let's just have a look. These trees, right, these are correct. Okay, now I just wanted to show you the leaf on that. I don't know if Seb can come in nice and close. You see how it starts to point nicely down towards the end. These are very indicative of your red bush willow. Now, as we're driving along both sides of the road here, it's quite prominent of this area, and this wood is extremely hard. It's a very hard wood. It's one of the hardest woods that we get in the field. The only one harder than that is the the zebra wood. So the zebra wood, however, only grows in small little bushes. The red bush willow being the hardest wood that we can find. People often make knopkieries out of it. That's a knopkierie, if you've never seen one. It's like a ball with a stick on it. So that can be a nice walking stick, or a nice, the people up in the northwestern part of Namibia, they actually use it as a defensive weapon. For instance, if they get attacked by a leopard or lion. So it's quite a useful tree, and the people would also use it to make some fence posts, but an extremely hard wood. So I'm just going to plug back in here, and like the sickle bush and the sickle bush and some of the acacias, that it can be one of your bush encroachers. So, and we're seeing it on both sides of the road here. Your Combretum apiculatum, it's got a 4-leaf seed pod like this, and it's very indicative of sandy soils, which, as you can see along the road here, sandy soils coming from mostly granite base rock. So just something interesting as we're on our way to Chitwa Dam. I thought I'd just point out a little bit of the Combretum apiculatum, or the red bush willow. And it's called the red bush willow because the seeds are rather red, but also the inner wood, which is very hard, is a very dark, lovely red color. So that's why it has got that lovely name, the red bush willow. So we're going to continue along down the road here. I do want to go and follow up on that hyena, the hippo, excuse me, the hippo that was in the water, because we did spot mommy with a little baby, but mommy had quite a lot of wounds on her back. Now we're not sure if that was through fighting with the other hippos, which was quite possible. Maybe she was defending the youngster, or if it was predator related. It's probably more likely that she was defending a little youngster in the waterhole per se, but we just want to go and have a look there and see if anything has changed with mommy there. But along the way, always will stop if we find something. For instance, the lovely leopards. We're still not picking up on them just yet. I've seen absolutely no sign of them. They're really trying to hide away from us. So we're looking for their tracks and signs, and if we hear any alarm calling, we will follow up on it immediately. You can see this lovely soil that we've got as we go down the road. Very white, very it's coming, it's a lot of gravelly soil, and that's coming from your granite base. So it's quite acidic, and that would then obviously also affect the kind of plants that would grow here. If it was a darker soil, much more fine, generally coming from your basaltic rocks, which is more clayey in its soil structure, so that would then definitely be making more of your smaller leaf trees, like your acacias. Your acacias like to grow in more clayey soils, whereas you're getting larger leaf trees growing in your sandy soils, which is more aerated, and the water also goes through it a lot quicker. So, but there's also less nutrients in sandy soils. So clay soils, nice and high in nutrients, they're a lot darker, and the soil is a lot finer as well. This is very gravelly soil, quite thick particles, and a very light color to it too. This all affects the kind of ecology, and the plants that will grow there will then affect what kind of animals you'll get in the area too. What birds, what mammals, etc. So it's all interdependent on the soils firstly, how that is going to affect the plants, and the plants then will affect the animals. So that's a lovely bit of interaction there, and ecology, how things actually all fit together. Right. So and the reason why they've got quite a bit bigger leaves when you've got sandy soil, because it takes a lot more hypertension, I think is the word, for the trees to be able to draw up the water and the nutrients in this more aerated soils that allows the leaves is pulling, it's got more of a suction. Whereas when the trees are growing in clayey soils, it's not that necessary. So you get a lot more fine leaf trees in clay soils. But very high in nutrients, and it also does affect then Derek the Pope asking the question, what tree is considered bad luck? I'm trying to rack my brain to think which one is bad luck per se. I know that the leadwood is not considered to be bad luck, but you would not stand underneath a leadwood if there is a storm, because it's believed that you would have a very high chance of being struck by lightning. Now that's what the locals believe, but I think it might be to do with the density of the tree or the wood itself. Whereas if you're in a storm, the locals believe that you should stand under a buffalo thorn, which is then not going to allow you to be struck by lightning. So I'm still trying to think of a tree that is bad luck, but I can't think of one. I know that the sickle bush we consider to be the pharmacy of the bush, because it's got a whole host of different uses medicinally, but in terms of luck, I'm not quite sure. I know that the marula and the false marula more so in particular, that the locals actually believe that, you know, with the false marula and the marula, they do have very distinctive male and female plants. And when a lady is pregnant in the local community, if she's looking to have either a boy or a girl, she will take a branch of either the male or female plant and she will put that under her pillow. And that will then, they believe, have the baby chosen for her in terms of the sex. So that's something quite interesting. But the bad luck, I'm not quite remembering anything that I could believe, except for the leadwood being around the storm and the lightning. But if I do think of something, I will let you know. Philip, which plant is indicative of a high water table? Well, I'm thinking now once again. You guys are putting through good questions on botany here. I do know that a lot of trees would grow next to a riverine vegetation and would indicate water being in that area, such as your jackalberries, your tambuotis, what else? Even the leadwoods. So if you're walking through the bush and you start to spot those trees, it's definitely an indication of them being next to or in an area where there is a lot of water, in a drainage line, next to a drainage line, or in a riverine area. But for it to actually indicate a high water table is a very good question. I'm not quite sure of the answer, but I don't know if that sort of answers your question. You know, also like in areas of Namibia, for instance, you can actually spot it a mile away, where you've got these water or ephemeral rivers. You can see those false acacias, the Faidherbia albida, or the Anna boom, the Anna tree, and a lot of the acacias, which are totally indicative. You can actually see where the drainage lines occur, even without there being a real depression that you can see. You can see where the trees are that indicate where the water line or the water table is sitting. But I think it would more, so those are the plants that indicate those zones, and then I think you would actually look at the conditions of those plants to see whether the water is dropping or rising, because they would still be tapping into it. And I know that some, like the camel thorn acacia, well, they're not acacia anymore, are they? The Virchilia, I think, because the acacia are now been assigned to the wattles of the Australian environment. So we're now talking about Virchilia, which is the new name. That's the camel thorn. their roots can actually go down up to about 100 meters to tap into the groundwater. So I'm going to move down here towards Chitwa Dam, but in the meantime, let's cross over to Noel with her elephants once more.
All right, we are still with our elephants. Now, I've been waiting for the little male to come out so I can show you the difference between male and female body parts for sexing them. But unfortunately, he's hiding in the bush, so we're watching this big female. I want you to notice the bottom end of her trunk when she picks up the food. She's missing part of it. So Vildi and I were chatting earlier, and he was reminding me that there's an elephant. What did you call it, Vildi? Short trunk? Half trunk. But this is not her, as Vildi is saying, but just the bottom part is gone. She's still able to utilize the trunk and pull up grass, but she doesn't have the two little fingers at the end. It's sort of, I'm not quite sure. Maybe it got mowed on by hyenas possibly when she was little. It could possibly be something like a crocodile, but from what I've seen with crocodiles, it's usually a bit longer. Now, when she moves forward just a bit now, behind her back legs there, I just want to have a look. I want you to just notice how straight down, it's going to be a little, we'll see if she comes in, how straight down her vulva area is, and that's how you would tell, as opposed to an L shape that a male will have. But it's a little bit difficult from this angle, so I don't know if we're going to be able to carry on with that side of the conversation. So everybody, I think we've spent some really good time with our Ellies, and I'm thinking what we're going to possibly do now is go and have a look. It's cooled down, well, it's been cold all afternoon, but it's cooled down a little bit more, and see if we can possibly pick up Tundi. We are in the area that she does like to move in. We are in the area where we had tracks yesterday, so I'm hoping she comes out. Just want to check twin dams quickly, just in case any of the leopards that are over on Little Gowrie. I was talking with one of the guys from Cheetah Plains, and not only is Shadow over on Little Gowrie like we know about with her kill from this morning, but I would assume, I don't know for certain, I would assume that her youngster is over there, and possibly Hassana, possibly Tumba, because when I asked this guide, he said everybody, all the leopards are over on Little Gowrie, so I have a feeling that they're having a little block party without us, but we'll double check on that boundary line and then carry on looking for Tandi. So we can say goodbye to our Ellies. Thank you so much, Ellies. Rolf has managed to make it to Chitwa Dam, so I think let's go to him while I am busy looking for our spotted felines. Hello, madam. Yes, I'm leaving you. So let's go over to him and see what he has to show us.
Right, folks, I've just come down from the Chitwa Dam wall, and there Seb is just trying to locate that little bird, a very pretty little bird that we're looking at. We keep on chasing them away in front of the vehicle, but that is a little bee-eater who is now not obliged, and he's flown away. So, with everybody really struggling to find the predators, Seb has told me about a little secret spot down below the Chitwa Dam. Now, I know that Tristan uses this as a spot to come and look for leopards when everybody has been struggling, normally on a very hot day, but we're just taking a bit of a chance and coming down to see if we can find any sign of the spotted cats moving around here. And after that, we're going to go back up onto the wall and have a look at the hippos who were just calling a second ago. But we're just moving down the bottom here, and you can see there's quite a lot of sign of erosion with the water having flowed through here. There's also quite a bit of sign of elephants, but it's not anything fresh. And I know you have been watching the elephants nicely with Noel. So I'm not looking for elephants at the moment, and there's no sort of real sign that they are in the area. We might, this is a nice sort of marshy area too, so it's a lovely spot to pick up on some different birds and also some frogs. So we're just looking for something a little bit different. Now, there's also a good indication as we move into this area. You can see how the vegetation has sort of changed from the area where we were in quite a high area in terms of the lay of the land. Now we've moved down towards a kind of a riverine vegetation, and we went from those red bush willows to more of a little bit more marula. There's some jackalberries here, there's some Okay, there is some russet bush willows, so there's also bush willow in the area, but this is a dam, so it has been man-made. Now I just want to stop here for a second. I'll just freewheel forward. There was a little bit of movement in the water there. I just want to see if we can hear if there's any frogs calling. A little bit of movement in the water there. I'm not quite sure what it was. And I also want to listen to see if there's any other birds around. Does seem pretty quiet. In front I can hear a marsh warbler. He does a bit of a but otherwise it's still pretty quiet. So let's move forward a little bit. I don't want to sit here with nothing happening. Move forward a little bit. We'll go through this little drainage line here. So this is obviously, you know, you always need to have an overflow. You always need to have an area, especially if you've built a dam. You need to have an area where the water can flow through. Otherwise you are running the risk of having your dam burst. So there needs to be an easy outflow. And this is obviously where the dam is now outflowing to. We're not seeing anything particular, but if Seb, if you will just go just to that tree there, if you can just zoom in on that tree that you were on, just to the right of the water, that's it. You can see that, yeah, that lovely sort of dark but patchy bark there, that is from a tambuti, and there is one here just next to us. I'm just going to jump out the vehicle if I don't get tied up. I just want to have a look here. And what is very easy with these trees, you know, when we train students, you know, for identifying trees, it's one of the easiest trees to identify. As soon as you pick it, you see you get that white latex that starts to come out. Now, it's not extremely poisonous, but it will turn your stomach around. So you don't want to get that on your skin. And you stop moving, sorry. Excuse me, Seb. There we go. So if you can just get in there nice and close. Obviously I can't see what Seb is seeing, so he's just giving me some instructions. That lovely nice white milky latex. Now that can be used if you've got toothache. It does numb the area, so you can put that onto your teeth. Or if you've had a tooth pulled, you can actually use that as a bit of an anesthetic. And another thing is that this does help to, now I'm just dropping it on the floor there, with that tree, it does help to keep the insects away, the pesky insects. So if you've got, you know, fish moths or any of the insects that are invading your space in your clothing or anywhere like that, you put a branch of the tambuti inside your cupboard, and that can actually help to keep the insects out. And oopsie, I've done that the wrong side now. So, but a couple of the animals that will feed on this tree are porcupine, even though it's poisonous. So porcupine are one of the animals that are able to digest this poison or this slightly poisonous latex, and another one being that of your oryx and gemsbok. Kudu also will feed on it, so it's quite a difficult tree to work with, but these animals will be able to feed on it. Jilly asking the question, how did the fever tree get its name? That's a very good question, and because the name is very descriptive, being a fever tree. Now that is the Acacia xanthophylla, the old acacia, now it would be Vachellia. That getting its name because of the areas where the fever tree grows was always in the same areas where people would get malaria. So a lot of the people thought that that tree was causing the fever that you get from malaria, and even so, because it's a very interesting tree, that the bark is very green, so it actually helps to photosynthesize on the bark itself, but there's a white powdery substance on the outside of that, and they actually believed that inhaling this powder that you got on the edge of the bark was creating this fever that that you would get from malaria. And only later did they realize that it was actually the mosquitoes biting people in the same areas that was creating the fever. But the common name remained. So that is where the name fever tree comes from, Vaccilia xanthophylla, and you find it along lovely, also quite a tree that you do find in marshy areas near to riverine vegetation, such as the tambuti. So, you know, you can also look at vegetation, which will also indicate what's going on in the soil, what's happening in the area. And if you understand the trees and the botany, then you can actually help yourself quite a lot, because you can understand what is happening in the soil. So, you know, these trees, smaller leaves, next to riverine vegetation, a lot more clayey soil. So right, I'm going to head up back onto the Chitwa Dam and have a look at those hippos, but in the meantime, Noel is driving around. Let's have a look what she might be able to find.
Thanks, Ralph. I'm driving around, having a look for tracks, bumbling about, seeing what wants to show itself. Something else we haven't seen in a while is some moving around hyenas. I know that James checked the other day at the hyena den to see what was happening with those youngsters. I haven't seen any activity since the bigger rain, so I'm not quite sure, and I don't believe he had any activity the other day. So we might swing past there a little bit later, just depending on what we're up to. We're still sort of to the eastern side of our property. And what I would like to do now, after we're finished with this area, unless we pick up something on Tundi, just want to go check Biffle's cut line and see if maybe the Inkahumas want to come out. Sorry, I've just seen something in a tree. It's not leopard-like. It is more bird-like. It's definitely on a nest. I actually think it might be a battleur on a nest. I want to... Oh, wonderful. It is a battleur on a nest. Yes, I'm still so impressed with our cameras. It's a bit far off. I would like to sort of get a little bit closer if we can. It'll be a little bit easier to see and to ascertain possibly what is potting over that side. Excuse me for my sniffles and my coughs and my cold. I think this cold weather after our nice warm weather has really decided to settle in. It's okay, I'll have some nice ginger tea tonight. It'll sort it all out. Anyone's ever getting this is totally off topic, but if anyone's ever getting a bit of a cold, slice some fresh ginger, put with boiling water, put some honey and some lemon, and I'm telling you, it works wonders. You can also, if you have a chance, we've got our 3 battleurs. If you have a chance, mix with rooibos tea. Rooibos is a herbal South African tea. It's red bush tea. It's very, very good. You can get it pretty much anywhere these days. Okay. Billy, what do you think? Do you think if I come around the corner, we'll be able to get the bat 2 and then the one in the nest as well? We might do. Let's just try. Let's try and see what we can do with this sighting. So we see these 3 battleurs often together. We had that wonderful sunset the other day, and I think just maybe. Okay. So look, it's not the best view, but we've got the 2 that are inside our tall knobthorn at about our 3 o'clock. There's 2 of them, and then just behind them and to the right is the other tree with the nest where that other battleur is inside. I have a feeling that what that other battleur is doing is actually picking out chicks. I don't necessarily think it's its nest, just because I've been past here enough and I haven't seen that any of them on a nest before. So I think that they're raiding that nest for whatever might be inside. But look, it's just a guess for now. It's quite interesting. There's a lot of starlings. Oh, there they go. There's a lot of starlings around that one. I'm surprised they're not being mobbed a bit more. And here is our other 2. Looking slightly warmer than the battleur we had this morning. What's in that one's mouth? Did you see that, Vildy? Oh, now, see, I might have to correct myself because in that one's mouth is what looks like some nesting material. So I think my original assertion was in fact wrong, and they're busy rebuilding a nest and putting it in. Now, it's interesting that it's 3 of them. So we've talked about this on and off for the past couple of weeks. I thought at one point it was a male and a female and a much older youngster. That was my guess. But they're definitely, I mean, there's no other reason for them to be in there other than our first thought that we had was that they were taking the chicks out, but they wouldn't be eating chicks out of there. And then, we've got cuckoos here, Vildy, I think. And hold on, sorry. We've got so much bird activity. There's an oriole that was there, and they're chasing a starling. That's what they're chasing. Out of the area. There's a Burchell starling, and then 2 black-headed orioles were chasing it there.
There's 2 things on that nest.
Are there 2 things on that nest? Vildy's saying there's 2 things on that nest. I'm super intrigued right now. So the 3 battlers are now sitting together. It was the starling, Vildy. That's all right. So the 3 are sitting together, sorry, on that tree. 2 of them are sort of touching and grooming each other. The other one's off to the side. Now, this is making me wonder if older youngsters assist their parents at all in nest building. I actually don't know. It's something curious. I'm going to have to give myself homework and read up a little bit more about it, and also ask some friends regarding sort of nesting behavior, because I actually don't know that much about their nesting behavior, sad to say. But it's very interesting what they were doing, and also the bit of branch that it brought, it looked like the one that was sitting there that had gotten it from a different tree, not from that knobthorn tree. They're not going to put thorns in there. It looked like a broad-leafed, soft tree. Very, very, very cool. Hello, Lily. You're saying how much you love Battler. I also love them. They're my favorite eagle. Well, my favorite eagle at the moment. Thanks so much for the comment. I'm glad to hear that you like them. One's just flown back up towards the nest again. And is busy potting around in there. We talked about it several game drives ago about how eagles like to lie in their nest with soft nesting material and sometimes with pungent leaves. And I was wondering what sort of pungent leaves they would use in this area, because we don't have the alien invasive eucalyptus. I still haven't found the answer to that. Now, my friend Ralph has a baby hippopotamus over at Chitwa Dam, so let's head over to him and have a look.
So we came back up onto the Chitwa Dam wall, and we have relocated Mommy with the little baby. Now, Mommy did have a few fresh wounds on her back yesterday. It seems like they have healed up a little bit. It doesn't seem to be anything bad at all, but she is hanging out here on the opposite side of the dam to the rest of the hippos. So I don't know what happened with the group on the grander scheme of things, because she is now isolated herself far away from everybody else. So there must have been some kind of dispute between the rest of them. But baby looks very healthy, and Mommy, apart from this few little scratches, she's absolutely fine as well. Now, what was very interesting, and we had it yesterday as well, the birds just flew off, but we did have some of the red-billed oxpeckers keeping those little wounds open. Now, oxpeckers are sanguinivores, which means that they feed on blood, but they generally take it off parasites which are engorged with blood. So they would take them normally off your impala, sorry, not your impala, the impala, and giraffe and kudu. But in this case, they actually just identified that there is an wounds on this hippo, and they're just keeping those little wounds open and feeding on the blood. Now when they do that, the hippo doesn't seem to mind at all. It's almost like she doesn't even feel it. But in that particular situation, you know, we speak of symbiosis and the relationships between animals and organisms, and in that particular instance they would normally be a sort of mutualistic relationship because they would both benefit from that relationship, but in this particular instance it would be more of parasitism. So those birds gaining to the detriment of the hippo. It's not a massive detriment to the hippo, but it wouldn't be a gain in any way whatsoever, and it's not doing anything. It is drinking her blood and keeping the wound open, so it's not something that you'd like. As the Egyptian geese fly over, and there the little baby climbing on mommy's head. He's just gone under again. A lovely little sighting, this. Mommy is very relaxed. She's in shallow enough water that the baby can bob up and down. Doesn't need to go too deep, and the baby keeps on climbing on her head a little bit. Now they do defecate in the water as well, and we're seeing quite a bit of movement of fish in the area. The fish will also come and feed on the defecation of the hippos. So there you can see just on the top right hand corner there's movement of fish. It's most likely to be catfish who would feed on the defecation, and sometimes insects and things come to feed on the defecation of the hippos, and then the fish follow. So once again you've got a whole little cycle of life. Sorry, there has been a question coming through. Would you mind repeating that, Kirsten? Question from Eric the Poet. Is it safe to say that oxpeckers are bloodthirsty? Absolutely. They are definitely bloodthirsty vampires. They are drinking blood off the hippo, and the parasites that they feed on are normally full of blood themselves. So yes, definitely, I would definitely say that they are vampire blood-sucking individuals. Right, we're going to head up along the road here. There still hasn't been any leopards found, but up here near the airstrip is a fantastic spot that we can have an opportunity of maybe finding some leopard, but there's generally some good game movement as well. So let's move along down the road and see what we find around the corner. We are moving around the back of Chitwa Lodge, so please don't worry about the few little buildings that we see here. There still is a lot of animal movement in the area. So as I head up towards the airstrip, I'm going to see what's moving around there. Let's go back to Noel and get an update from her.
No update this far, Ralph. So, or thus far. I'm sorry, I really don't know. I feel like maybe I haven't had enough water today. My words are not coming out as well as they should. And again, no update from us. Still just checking our eastern boundary and then heading up towards where possibly I am hoping the Nkuhumas want to come out of Biffle's Hook. Seeing lots of Impala. None of them are being eaten by leopard. Vildy and I are very sad about this fact. But you never know. Everything happens. Maybe a last-minute leopard. Hello, Joy. Afternoon. So, Joy, no, the rooibos tea comes from the red bush that is in the Western Cape. So, on the complete opposite side of the country of South Africa from us. So, unfortunately, I can't show you any of those. I do believe that Ralph showed you a red bush willow earlier, and you can take those samoras, those seed pods, and make a tea out of them. But it's not the same rooibos tea as I was talking about. If we did have, I would definitely show you. If I actually had rooibos tea with me right now, I would probably be drinking it. It's getting chilly again. It's very, very, very good, and lots of antioxidants in it as well, and proudly South African. Okay, well, on my wish list for the rest of this afternoon / evening is to see a honey badger, a pangolin, a porcupine, a leopard, maybe all of them together. I think that's asking a bit much. Yeah, a cheetah might want to pop up. The last update I had from the wild dogs earlier this afternoon is they're still all west. They've got a den that side as far as I understand, so I was hoping they would pop up over to us a little bit more, but if there's enough food for their prey species that size, there definitely will be now, because we've had all of this wonderful, glorious rain. Then I don't know how much we'll be seeing them in a couple of months, possibly a bit more as the pups get older. There's also other packs that might come through, but that particular pack, we'll probably see them on and off. And then hopefully they will decide to move over to the Djuma area and stay put with us for a little bit, but you never know. Only they know what they want to do, and we just have to do our best to try and find them wherever they might be. I think what else? We finally got our elephants, which is good. We had giraffe this morning. Always love a giraffe. We had zebra this morning, which was very good because they are very hard to see this time of year. And then as far as birds go, Vildy and I had a nice sighting of a Deirdre's cuckoo earlier, but it didn't want to stay for camera. We're still looking for the nemesis bird, the Klaus's cuckoo, for the Djuma bird list. We did tick it off for the Mara bird list. And I, of course, am still looking for my nemesis leopard to show you on camera, Tingana. Yeah, I'm not going to think about that one too much. He is being super cheeky, as always. Not hide nor hair. LJK, you're curious. You guys are really liking this rooibos tea. LJK, you're wondering, what does rooibos tea taste like exactly? It's got a little bit of a... Kirst, help me out here. Not quite a smoky flavor, but like a wholesome woody flavor at the back of it. It depends on how long you steep it. It's just very earthy. It's a very earthy taste, but not bad. Kirst very cheeky. Kirst is saying it tastes red tea like. Yeah, it's rooibos tea is just, it tastes like rooibos tea. My stepmom lives in the States, and she got hooked on rooibos tea when she was visiting here, and she went to a store near her and found it, so I do know it's around. And there are a lot of South Africans that live in the States and also live in the UK, so there are a lot of South African shops everywhere, and they'll definitely have rooibos tea. And biscuit. So biscuit is, what's a biscuit, Vildy? A rusk, thanks, a rusk, Vildy. It's a rusk, which is sort of similar to a biscotti. So you make your rooibos tea and you dip your biscuit in and you eat it. You eat your rusk. It's very good. You can also get rusk recipes on the internet and make them yourself. And on a cold, chilly afternoon like this, a rusk and a cup of tea is very, very good. I don't know. I feel like maybe we should have a conversation about tea and soup. Oh, we had soup. So this morning, Vildy and I were talking about when we get home, what are we going to have? And Mama Armani made a beautiful butternut and sweet potato soup. It was so good. Vildy, did you have your Milo?
Yes, a couple times.
Vildy had several Milos, several hot chocolates. I had coffee and soup and was very, very, very happy. Okay, well, at least it's not raining, but you would expect a bit more activity from the territorial creatures because the rain has subsided. So I think we just need to send out our good vibes, get our good juju flowing, and they will start coming to us. We've done most of our cut line now. Now we're going to do the northern cut line. Cross fingers, hold thumbs, and kahumas come across. I'd even settle for them to be on the Biffelstock side, but where we can see them. And that would be good. Although our buffaloes went up that side, so I'm sure they're feasting. All right, let's head back to Ralph. I'm sure he's got something much more interesting to talk about other than tea and soup. So we'll go over to him. We'll see you just now.
Right, well folks, I'm not going to talk about tea or soup as I head out onto the airstrip here. What I would like to talk to you about is possibly some fresh tracks. Now, if we have a look at the airstrip, it would normally be nice and fresh for us, and absolutely we look like we have an animal that was running through here. I don't know, it's not that easy for Seb to pick up, but let's try our best. I'm gonna stop here. There was a running animal here, so I'm gonna stop here and jump off the vehicle. It's better when we are out on foot to do this with the camera, but what you can see here, and as Sebastian comes and follows me, look into this area over there where I'm pointing. You can see the jump that has been made here, and you can see from the veracity of the track itself how those claws have dug into the ground and the direction that this animal was moving as well. But you can see the distance between the tracks that this animal was definitely running. Now, whether he was running away from something or chasing something is the question. But as we go down here, you can see this lovely pad at the back. You can see a toe there, second one, third one, fourth one, and you can see those lovely claws in the front. Now on the outer toes we've got a bit of kidney shape there as well as there, so this is definitely that of a hyena. Now this is the front foot, and so is that one, and this is the back foot, being much smaller than there and here as well. So you can imagine how he's run, with the front legs hitting down and those back legs coming over to here and then kicking off. So the front legs hitting down over there first, and the back legs coming over and landing here, front legs again, back legs. So you can almost imagine how this animal was running through here. Now, as I say, we don't know whether he was running away from something or whether he was chasing something, but very fresh as it's come through, and another one coming towards the vehicle here as well. So that's something interesting and lovely and fresh, nice and clean slate that we've got on the airstrip now. It would be nice for the aeroplanes to land, because it wouldn't be so bumpy after the rain that we've had. So it has cleaned it up nicely. Got some guinea fowl fighting up on the end there. But we just wanted to come down the road. And as I said, those hyena tracks were lovely and fresh, probably from this morning or last night at the very least. And we're seeing some waterbuck tracks. Now this animal, as you can see, straight up it's been running all the way along here. It looks like there were two individuals as well, at least. So I'm driving on the track that he was running. Very interesting, hey? So you can almost see exactly what he was up to, but he was running that way. It doesn't look like there's any other fresh tracks. Maybe they had heard something, maybe they had smelt something, maybe there were lions roaring in the area, or maybe they heard some leopards calling and they thought that they'd go and follow up on that. R. Laura Moore, question from you asking, how do you tell the difference between hyena tracks and wild dog tracks? Now that's a very good question, because they are very similar sort of structured feet, but one of the biggest or the easiest ways to tell between wild dogs and hyenas. Sorry that I wasn't looking at the camera, I'm just having a look at all of these tracks as we go along. The difference between them, the easiest way, very big front feet of the hyena, versus a very small back foot, and the wild dogs very similar in size, front feet to back feet. So that is a very good indicator. Plus, the wild dog's feet also very dog-like, obviously. Now, hyena isn't exactly a dog, but the tracks are very dog-like. And I'm sure you would have seen from any of your domestic dogs at home, they are very similar to that of a wild dog's track. Now, the broadness of a hyena's track is very much more round, especially on those front feet, than the wild dogs per se. Now, I've just seen something land in the tree there. So if that answers your question, it's very easy to see from that front foot versus the back foot. And we've just got looks like a pied crow that's landed in the tree there. I haven't seen too many of them. What is interesting about this bird, I don't know if Seb can actually see it there. Can you spot it there, Seb? He's jumping up through the tree there. It's a bit of a pied crow. He's just gone behind the branches there. Here in the Lowveld, we've still got a number of I don't see it. We've still got a number of vultures that are flying around, but in the Eastern Cape, there we go. In the Eastern Cape, there is a lot of farmers around, a lot of sheep farmers, and they have poisoned a lot of carcasses because of that's a pied crow, because of the caracal and the jackals in the area, which like to feed on those lambs and the sheep. The farmers poison carcasses and then they put them out to kill the jackals and the caracal, and obviously with carcasses lying around, the vultures pick that up and they fly down and they will then also die. So in the Eastern Cape there are little to no vultures, but the crows have stepped into the lurch and they have become that sort of top decomposer of the birding world, and they've taken over the role of the vultures, and you'll find them. Oh, wow, what's he's feeding on something. He's got something in the tree there, hey? It looked reptile-like to me. Almost like there was a bit of a leg. What is that? I don't know if anybody can actually see what that is. It's definitely meat of sorts. But so the crows, they're taking up that role in the Eastern Cape of the vultures. So they're helping to decompose, they're helping to get rid of that old meat that's lying around. You see, nature will always find a way, even though we do try to step in and change things. They still, you take away one apex predator or decomposer, and another one sometimes can step into the lurch, as the crows have done in the Eastern Cape. We get the white-necked ravens there, we get the pied crow, as this one is on the tree here. But in this instance, in this area, they are obviously a little bit below the vultures in the sort of trophic pyramid per se. But they can hunt as well, but they also are adept at scavenging. It's all about energy efficiency. Why would you bother wasting energy hunting something and fighting it if you can actually steal somebody else's food or just pick up something that has died on its own? Right, we've got some guinea fowl that are just starting to make a racket behind us. We'll listen out a little bit. Okay, I'm going to listen out for this guinea fowl and see if he's going to indicate a leopard for us. But in the meantime, let's go back to Noel while I see what these guys are on about.
I also have some black and white birds. I've got some pied crows that are busy having a bit of a tiff with a pair of lilac-breasted rollers. They keep going between this tree that you're seeing here and a tree. Ooh, here comes the roller. Tree to the left. I have a feeling that the rollers probably have a nest somewhere here, and those pied crows might be, magpie shrikes are possibly trying to get too close to that nest. That would be my guess. There we can see There's the mate coming over there. So they keep moving from this tree into the other one and sort of dive bombing. Now the magpie shrikes are coming across to the limb there. There they are. Remember, shrikes like to eat things like lizards and birds and insects. The bird species that they would eat are going to be small, like chicks, as far as my memory serves me. Let's just listen for a minute. So the magpie shrikes have that sweet choo-choo call, and the very beautiful lilac-breasted rollers have that horrible rah-rah-rah-rah call. Both species taking a little bit of a rest now. I just want to see, I have a feeling that those rollers will come back and sort of dive bomb these magpie shrikes again. Just keep an eye out. Sorry for our roof every now and then, but again, we don't want to get rained on, and it keeps raining on and off, although the past sort of hour has been nice. This lilac-breasted roller is circling and circling and calling and calling. LJK, very interesting question. You're curious about what is the advantage of such a long tail on a magpie shrike? Other than being pretty, LJK, I can't imagine there being a huge advantage. I just think it's a sort of plumage selection that's not necessarily served them for a purpose other than looking nice. I mean, it would be similar to something like a pin-tailed or shaft-tailed whydah, where the males grow it long for attracting females and for coloration. The magpies keep their tails all along. Again, very similar to the question we had earlier, why do elephants have wrinkly skin, or why does a waterbuck have a white circle on the bum? For me, it's just one of those things where it just is. I can't imagine there being anything super important about it. I mean, their balance is still going to be the same, whether it's a short tail or a long tail. It's an interesting thought. And other than that, I couldn't honestly tell you. I don't know if maybe you have an idea as to why it would be that way. Also, before I forget, a little bit off topic, but James Richard, you're curious about having me find a chameleon for you. I have been looking. It's super cold at the moment, so if we were to find a chameleon, I'd be super surprised. We need to just be a bit warmer, and then we're going to see a lot more chameleon activity, that's for sure. All right, our rollers and shrikes have now taken a rest. So I think we're going to keep checking along the road for any possible Nkahuma movement across to us, or maybe they're just over on this side. I heard some of the guys chit-chatting earlier. I couldn't quite hear properly, so I had a feeling that they were possibly around this area. So just double checking for everybody and for us as well. We've done really well with our birds and our trees today, and with our sort of general game. I'm very much in the mood for a cat. Judy, you're saying it's been a few days, you're having leopard withdrawal. Judy, I have leopard withdrawal every day. I don't see a leopard. I have lion withdrawal even more. I love a leopard, but lions definitely a wee bit more. Tristan and I were actually talking about this. Tristan loves leopards. I love lions. So when Tristan and I go out on drive tracks or any leopard tracks, he goes to tracks and I go to the lion tracks. So I'm having some withdrawal for.
All right, folks, I think you've lost signal with Noel. We've just trying to follow up a little bit on this, the alarm calling that we've heard from the guinea fowl. So sorry for the noise that we might have a little bit as we go through these branches here. It does get a little bit difficult sometimes to drive when you're going in through the thick stuff, but that's sometimes what we need to do to follow up on a potential animal. Now, I know James was discussing the other day about these guinea fowl that are roosting at present, so sometimes they are giving off a little bit of a call that is indicative of a alarm call, but we do need to try and follow up nonetheless, because it might be that they're alarm calling for a leopard. And this is the exact same area that I think it was Tamba, hey? Tamba was spotted the other day, so he might have hung in exactly the same area right here next to the airstrip. And there's lots of game, there's lots of food around, there's water around, so it's a lovely area for him to hang around. Now, it's not guaranteed, as I said, that we're going to find him, but we are going to just have a little bit of a look. So I'm just doing a small loop around this termite mound. Liz, have I ever seen a pangolin? Question coming in. I have seen a pangolin, and it was actually up in Namibia when I was driving on the tar road towards Etosha National Park, and it was about 3 o'clock in the morning, and I very well nearly hit it, and I slammed on brakes, I skidded to a halt, and the pangolin ran off on the side of the road. That was my only fleeting sight of a pangolin, but nonetheless I did manage to not hit it, and I did have a good short brief look at it. So that is my only sighting of a pangolin. So it wasn't anything amazing, and luckily I didn't run it over, because that would have broken my heart. And after that we had a very good safari in Etosha, so it was maybe the luck of the pangolin. I'm sorry for the branches, sorry about that, but we are getting into the thick stuff. We are trying to just do the little loop around and see if we can spot this leopard. I'm trying to look for the easiest way through the thickets and to try and do less damage to the vehicle and to the vegetation. Now, if you see, as we drive, we try to straddle these bushes to not totally destroy them, because they bounce up after us, behind us, and also to try and not damage the vehicle too much. Now, I might painting myself into a little bit of a corner here. I might have to go back the way I came, but I will still try and continue. Let's just go back a little bit and I'll loop through there. Now, these guinea fowl have gone quiet in the interim, so I think we're doing a little bit of a hit and miss here. It's not... Okay, so I'm going to continue bashing through the bush here, and as we call it, bund bashing. But while we're trying to see what we can find and if the leopard's anywhere nearby, let's cut back to Noel and see what she has been able to find.
Hello. Well, we found vehicle tracks that are busy turning around here, so we're turning around because in the middle of them are lion tracks. And so we are just investigating. I just want to see, sorry, I'm not going to look at you all for a while. Just want to see, there's some in the middle of the road, and then Vildi was saying he also saw some on our right-hand side, which is the Juma side. The left-hand side is the Biffleshoek side. So I just want to see where they go. These ones are carrying up the way a little bit. They're not fresh from now, possibly this morning. I would actually even say, here we go. Maybe even, now we got some serious rain this morning. Hey, Vildi. Proper serious rain. So I would say this is after the proper serious rain, yeah. Okay, well, go across and we'll check the fire break. Maybe we get last minute lion tonight instead of last minute leopard. You never know. I only saw 2 or 3 sets. Vildi, I don't know if you saw any more. Yeah, Vildi says he saw about the same. And definitely just in that area, not before then. So let's cruise through. And definitely some vehicles saw them. You can see, I don't know if they physically saw the lions, but they at least saw the tracks. You can see where they were turning about. I just need to get access onto the fire break. Ooh. Deirdre, you want to see a bush baby? I'll definitely add to the wish list. It is summer. We should start seeing them more. Again, a little bit chilly for them, but I'll definitely add it to the wish list. I was super excited. I was in the Kruger National Park, yes, at the end of October. See here, Vildy. See, you guys see these vehicle trucks? The end of October, and had a sighting of a greater bush baby, which I hadn't seen in a very long time, and was very, very chuffed about. I think these guys saw these lions, hey? I'm almost convinced of it. Almost convinced. Just careful, careful, careful. Sorry, I thought this was a road. It is not actually what I thought it was, so made a slight little error in judgment here, but we're already halfway through, so we'll go. That was a little stump. Sorry about that. Okay. Yeah, bush babies would be good. The greater bush baby that I saw is much larger than the lesser galago, and it has a big, thicker tail, and it was busy wandering around on my stoop, on my porch, when I saw it, and I managed to get, there's lion tracks again, but definitely after the rain. And they're on our side, yay! Going straight down the road. Okay, guys, we're in for a little bit of tracking. I hope everybody is okay with that. As I say that, they've moved off and come back. So, as we know, the Nkuhumas is quite a decent-sized pride. And because they've got sort of sub-adults mixed with adults, mixed with some juveniles, there's a lot of movement between the juveniles and the sub-adults when they're wandering around. The adults tend to head quite just straight through. I'm only picking up on the females and the youngsters. Looks like they were moving in and out this area here. I felt like a little bit more down that way. Yeah, because Vildy, we picked them up there and then they moved in and then came around. Okay, so without having any more to go on, and I can't, just drive into this block here, we're going to take our next road and come down and loop around like this. I think that's the best bet that we have thus far, because our tracks on that side were moving up, tracks on this side were moving down, and then it felt more like in there. So that is all we can do. You can see where the guys were here. Where are these lions? Interesting. The plot thickens. Interesting. It's also possible that they just came out of Bisfield's Hook and then went back in. So while I'm busy putting together our puzzle pieces, let's head over to Rolf and see what he's up to with his tracking.
Right, folks, we've done our little bit of bundu bashing there, and that was quite fun. We nearly didn't make it out, but we're nearly back towards the airstrip and clear ground. Sorry about the bashing. That's why it's called bundu bashing. That's what these vehicles are made for, and they're absolutely wonderful machines. But we do try to go slowly. We don't want to damage too much vegetation and the vehicle. But it was all in aid of following up on those guinea fowl, which as soon as we got nearby went quiet. So we do assume that they were calling for roosting. It is that time of day, so we're going to head back to the airstrip. It's a lovely area for the leopards and hyena, and I do see some animals starting to show themselves. There are some zebra up in front that we might go and have a look at. I'm going to just run up the side of the airstrip here. And we can go and have a look at those zebra up in front. Right, so I haven't seen a zebra in a little while. So let's go and see. And we're going to watch these animals and their behavior, because it's that time of the evening when the predators do start to become active. So if the animal's going to pick up on the noise, or they're going to smell a leopard, they're going to start to point us in the direction of them. So, you know, always from a distance, you always want to watch the behavior of the antelope and of the game, because if they pick up on a smell, they'll all start to point in a particular direction, and then they can indicate to you that there's something to look out for. I've very often found predators as a result of just watching the game and which way they're looking. So we're just going to come up here. I'm going to stop near to these zebra, just to give us a nice view of them. There we go. Nice and open again. We bashed our way through the bushes. Now we're out in the clear again, and we've got some Burchell's or plains zebra. I think it's Equus quagga burchelli. I know up in the Mara we've got the Grevy's zebra up there, and they don't have that shadow stripe. In South Africa we got the Cape Mountain zebra, which is slightly different to these. You find them, as the name suggests, up in the mountains, but also more in arid areas. So the the stripes don't meet all the way on the belly. They've got white stomachs. This is the mountain zebra I'm talking about, the Cape Mountain zebra. You can see with these Burchell's zebra or plains zebra, the stripes meet all the way on the stomach. With the mountain zebras, their stomach is white, like a lot of the other desert animals, for instance springbok and oryx and even the ground squirrels. They've got that white belly to reflect the heat back off the ground. So very often when you find desert animals, they've got that white belly, whereas these zebra don't. Now each zebra has got a particular pattern, very much like your fingerprints in human, and the mothers will separate themselves from the herd when they're going to have their baby, and they will spend an extended period of time away from the herd, and both the mother and the baby will imprint each other's patterns, smells and sounds on the brain, so that they then recognize each other after that. It's almost like humans. When a mother has a baby, she does like to be on her own with that baby for a little bit of time, just for her to have that time with her baby alone, getting to know the baby. And it's instinctively in us to isolate ourselves for a short period after birth. Question from Dave: how do you tell if it's a male or female? It is relatively difficult with zebra because there's no obvious way of telling. They don't have horns, the males don't have horns, so we do look for the obvious male parts, which makes it easy. So if we're looking at the back end of zebra, that's how we would tell. Now, generally with zebra, it's quite similar to that of horses and donkeys. There is a stallion that will get himself a harem, and there will generally be one big male within a group of zebra like this. And he's generally the one that, if there's any danger, you will see him coming to the front and fronting the danger. And if they are running away from anything, he's the one that normally turns around and sort of hangs at the back. So you can generally see it like that. But there's no real major or easy way of finding male and female between zebra. But while we watch these zebra move off into the distance, let's go back to Noel, who's got the elephants once more.
I do have elephants. I've got some different elephants. This is a very pregnant female. Quite long, thin tusk. You can actually see where Vilde is focusing in now. That is the baby bulging out. She's going to pop soon. There she's turned there. You can see it a little bit better there. Shame, heavy pregnant. The rest of the herd is just inside the bushes a little bit farther to her left-hand side. They've meandered off a bit. So she's got a bit of hormones going on. When we first saw her, she put out her ears and looked at us, and then it calmed right down. But you know, when you're that big and you have that many hormones raging through your body, I can only imagine how uncomfortable you must be. So we'll leave her to her feeding. It's also getting a little bit dark, and so we will let them carry on. And we are still searching for the owners of those lion tracks and just basically doing the block the best that we can. My sneaky suspicion is that a few popped out from Biffleshoek and then went back in, unless some of the pride moved and then the deluge happened and then a little bit more of the pride moved. It's all conjecture at this point. But we'll check. We're going to check the dam up ahead. Because you're curious about why are lions the only large cat that live in the pride. So the only large cat to have females that live in a group, which is their pride structure, as we call it, is lions. The reason why, I think, would possibly have to do with the fact of their size. They're much bigger than a leopard and they're much bigger than a cheetah. And so it behooves them to have a number of these large females in a group because it allows them to take down larger prey, which allows them to sustain themselves a bit more. So again, remember, when nature created all of its little bits and bobs, us included, we all fit into a very particular niche. So when you have large cats, cheetah, leopard, and lion all living together, they all have to fit into their own specific niche. And the lion's niche, sorry guys, it's going to be super bumpy, hold on. And the lion's niche is to be the heaviest, largest predator that we have on the African continent, sub-Saharan continent, part of the continent, and able to take down larger prey. Now, if you go and you look at something like a tiger is even bigger than a lion, obviously not occurring on this continent, occurring over in Asia, and they're not in a pride structure, but they're also living in a much more dense area, as opposed to a lion, which will live in thick bush and open areas. So then, as I'm saying that, it would also make sense to have prides of lions, especially in more open areas, similar to why wildebeest, for instance, males and females both have horns, because it allows them better protection, both the males and the females. That would be my general guess. Very interesting question. So while I'm busy looking for our large pride of lions, let's head over to Ralph and see what he has to show us.
So we've just relocated a little bit and we've got ourselves a nice view of these zebra, and they're just moving through. Remember that zebra being bulk grazers, and they're not too picky about what they feed on grass wise, so they can just move through here and feed on pretty much any of this grass matter as they move along. They might be going down towards the water, and as I say that, the guinea fowl is starting to make a noise behind us. But have a look at that. It looks like a youngster just having a little bit of a play with the adult. A little bit of a sparring session there. Zebra can be quite nasty to each other. They kick each other, they bite each other. Sometimes you can see a zebra with no tails. There he goes with a kick. You can see zebra with no tails, and that's generally from other zebra. They bite each other's tails right off. People often think it's from predators, but mostly it's from their own kind. Now, with zebra, they don't have horns or any defensive mechanism like that, so their biggest defense is their kick. So it's important for them to practice that, not only between each other. They obviously establish dominance by biting and kicking, as you can see there. So they do it, they play, they practice, because when it's important, whether it be dominance between each other or protecting themselves from a predator, they need to have it perfected and well trained. So when a lion tries to chase them, that kick can literally break the jaw of a lion. Monique saying that play doesn't look fun at all. I don't know, the way that they're bending down onto their hockles like that, it does, for me, look like a little bit like it's reasonably fun, but that's all in the impression of what you might get. But play is very important with wildlife, whether it be for training, for dominance, for like you see with a lot of the baby impala now that have virtually been alive for only a couple of days. They're already, some of them, starting to spar. So folks, we're starting to head down towards the end of the show. We've had a lovely day once more out here in the bush. It's been a bit of a patchy day in terms of the weather. A little bit of rain, a little bit of sunshine. The clouds have come over again. So we always wonder what tomorrow is going to hold. We'd love for you to join us again tomorrow as we try and find all the lovely things that we have out here in the bush. I'd just like to say a lovely thank you to the team up in the Mara, to all the cameramen, to Noel, who's out watching those elephants. Most importantly, to the viewers, thank you folks. Please watch again tomorrow. Good night. God bless. Goodbye.